Hi everyone, and welcome to the lecture video, How to Start a Research Study. In this lecture, I'm going to highlight some of the important vocabulary that you need to know when you start a research study, and we're going to discuss the beginning stages of a research project. So first, let's talk about how to begin planning a research study. The wheel of science here shown on this slide depicts the traditional process of research. The process is led by a theory, which seeks to describe the relationship between two or more things. For example, in criminology, our theories generally focus on what characteristics of a person, a place, or an event create criminal activity. From this theory, scientists develop a hypothesis. A hypothesis explains what the scientist expects to find as a relationship between the two variables. In order to test whether or not their hypothesis is true, a scientist will construct a research study, the research design stage, and then they'll collect data, the observation stage. The scientists will then analyze the data and generate findings. These findings will then be used to identify whether or not the hypothesis was correct. If the hypothesis is shown to be correct, then the scientist may use this piece of research to support the existing theory. If it was shown incorrect, meaning that the findings did not support the relationship that was expected to occur, then the scientist may try to revise the theory or redesign the experiment to see if the findings remain consistent. In science, the rule of thumb is that you are never trying to prove your theory. Instead, actually, you're trying to disprove your theory. If over time scientists are unable to disprove it, even when using different research designs, research subjects, or research hypotheses, then the theory becomes accepted as a law of science. Now, the theory into law process is much more successful in the physical sciences, where the reaction remains consistent over time. If I drop something out of my hand, it's going to head towards the floor, right? And this happens no matter who's dropping the object or what object is being dropped or where the object is located. That's why the theory of gravity is known as the law of gravity. In social science research, specifically criminology, now we're dealing with behavior, the attitudes, and characteristics of human subjects. It's unlikely that any social science research will achieve the consistency to be coined a law of human behavior. However, different criminological theories have differing degrees of support based on how many times the theory has been tested and how consistent the results are across populations, time periods, and different locations. The first stage of beginning a research study is to select a research topic. A research topic is simply a subject that you are intellectually curious about and you want to investigate further. Now, oftentimes as a student, your research topic is picked out for you. You may be told by a professor to pick a particular theme based on the course material, or you may be asked to work on an already existing project where somebody else has picked the topic. If at all possible, it's important to try and have some say in the selection of the research topic yourself. That's because research is a long and meticulous process, and if you don't have a passion or an interest in the subject matter, then you're likely to get bored or lose interest. So make sure that if you're going to work on a research project, try to select a topic based on your own personal interests. You want to be able to enjoy the project, not be pulled along unwillingly. Now, sometimes I get students in this course who come up to me and they already have the burning passion. They come in the first day of class and they know exactly what they want to research. They've been thinking about it before they even register for this class. And so this class simply offers them an opportunity to learn how to do that research better. You may be one of those students. Or you may be one of those students who comes into class with no clear interest. If I ask you today to pick a research topic, would you be able to do it? If you don't have anything in mind, there's a couple different ways that you can figure out a good topic for you. Published research is one of the most common. The nice thing about published research is that they often explicitly say what type of research should be done next. For example, in my own research, I often have a problem with generalizability, and we'll get into what that means later on in the course. But in my research, because of this problem, I outright state, this is my issue, and I discuss ways that my research could be done to make it generalizable. So when someone else reads my published article, they literally have a research topic delivered on a silver platter to them. Other ways to help you develop a research topic are to look at existing data. My graduate students do this a lot because they have limited time to complete their research, so they typically try to use data that somebody else has collected. And when I say data, I mean anything that contains information. It could be pictures, numbers, descriptions, recordings, observations, literally anything. You can find research topics also by looking at existing theories, reading books or magazine articles, watching films and documentaries, listening to other research presentations, and even examining events within your own life. If you don't want to start from scratch, you can also look for someone to work with on their research project. Did you know that UT Tyler offers special funds for undergraduate and graduate students who want to assist with a professor's research project? If you find a professor whose research is interesting to you, asking them to help can be a great way to gain some research experience. It's also a great way to earn valuable work experience and bump up those resumes. Whatever you do to find a research topic, it's important to remember that the goal of research is to develop new knowledge. That means a good research topic will help you create knowledge that didn't exist before. In other words, don't reinvent the wheel. Find a way to make your study unique. Like I said before, you are always trying to prove a theory wrong until you have tested it under all the conditions and it remains true. So even if someone else has done the research that you want to do, trying it out on a new population or using a new type of data or a new type of analysis, all of that can still generate new knowledge. Now, once you've decided on your research topic, the next step is to identify what the purpose of your search will be. This is the goal of your study, what you hope to accomplish and achieve by contributing to the literature. Identifying the purpose is important because it impacts what type of research design you're going to use during your research study, and that's going to impact the rest of the wheel of science. The first type of research is exploratory research. The goal of this type of research is self-explanatory. The goal is to explore. Now, exploratory research is done with the intention of becoming familiar with a new subject or a new situation. By its very definition, exploratory research means that the research study is looking into something that hasn't been examined by someone else. So they provide brand new research to the field. Because of this, exploratory research is usually the first step when scientists are exploring a new subject. Now, the problem with exploratory, or the challenge with exploratory research, is that the researcher, by definition, doesn't know much about the subject in advance. So some types of data collection become more difficult than others. For example, it's difficult to create a survey and collect data in an exploratory study because the researcher may not know enough about the subjects to create a survey in advance. For this reason, exploratory research often involves face-to-face research. However, the information learned from an exploratory study can provide enough information for a future, more in-depth research study. The second type of research study is description research. The goal of a descriptive study is to describe a situation, an event, or a person in depth. Now, don't be fooled though. Descriptive research isn't just someone going outside and saying, "Look, it's raining." Researchers doing a descriptive study use a methodological approach to provide a full description about the specific focus of the study. A prime example of a descriptive study is the United States Census. This means the goal of that is to describe the entire United States population at one point in time. The books here are also examples of descriptive studies. American Swastika was actually written by one of my professors from my PhD program, Dr. Pete Seamy. Seamy's research focuses on the white power movement in families and groups. One full chapter of this book is how white power families use symbols of the white power movement, like Nazi paraphernalia, in their houses as a way to reinforce the movement with their children. For example, he talks about how in the houses he went to, photos of Hitler or the Nazi swastika would be mixed in with family mementos in the living spaces of the white power members. The goal of Dr. Seamy's research was to provide a description of these intimate spaces that are rarely seen by outsiders, with the hope that this research would lead to a better understanding of the white power movement. The other example here is a sociological classic, William White's Street Corner Society. In his book, he describes the Italian slums, focusing on the social structure and the politics of the gangs and the other young people in the neighborhood. Explanatory research is probably the most common type of research. Explanatory studies hope to explain a cause and effect relationship. Explanatory research often focuses on an outcome of interest and then attempts to determine what factors lead to or predict the outcome. For example, in criminology, the outcome of interest is often something related to crime, like a criminal conviction. An explanatory study looking at a criminal conviction may try to identify what factors make a criminal conviction more likely, or how criminal convictions are impacted by specific factors like race, age, socioeconomic status, that type of thing. Since this research is most common, a majority of the research articles that you read will most likely be explanatory research. And in our course, we're going to focus primarily on explanatory research as well. The final type of research is evaluation research. This type of research focuses on a specific program or policy. Evaluation research asks one of three different questions. Evaluation can be done before a policy or program is put into place in order to determine what types of needs are present. It can be done during a program's or policy's implementation and asking the question of how does it work, or it can be done after a program or policy has been implemented with the goal of determining whether or not it has made a difference. Evaluation research is a special type of research, and it's something that you can explore further in a graduate research methods course if you're interested in continuing your exploration of this topic. Now, once you've identified your topic and your purpose, you're going to focus on creating a research question. Research questions provide the specific question that you're trying to answer with your research study, and that's then going to be used to guide your research design choices. When writing a research question, it's important to consider it carefully. One of the biggest problems that students have is creating a broad, too big research question. Asking something like, what causes rape? It's so huge, it would take years and years to research it. Instead, you want to make sure that your research question is narrowed down to a specific topic. Instead of the broad, what causes rape, you can ask, how does alcohol impact campus rape? Notice that it's still looking at the same topic, but it's a different, more narrowed down research question. This is a research question that can actually be used to create a research study, as opposed to the huge question that would require more than one experiment. You also need to be practical when creating a research study. Your budget, your time, and your resources are going to impact how big or how narrow a research question you can handle. Researchers at Harvard have been running this study called the Adult Male Development Study for over 70 years. They collect interviews, medical information, and all kinds of other data from a large cohort of men. Now, as you can imagine, a lot of resources are needed for this type of research. When you pick a research question for your research project, you're going to have to design something that's a lot more narrow because you're going to have very limited time and limited resources. Finally, remember to consider your own interest level in the topic and also the usefulness of this research to the broader community. You want to find something interesting so that you don't get bored or burned out on your research, but at the same time, you want to pick a research topic that will contribute to the field. This concept goes back to the concern of reinventing the wheel. Unless you are redoing a study on purpose to test its replication potential, which we'll talk about later, you have to consider whether your research question will provide something new to the field. All right, well, that concludes the lecture video, How to Start a Research Study. Thanks for watching, everyone.